Hey. How long are you planning to keep ignoring me like this? Even though I've tried talking to her, my eldest son's wife continues to ignore me, not responding at all. This situation has been going on for about half a year now, and I've reached my limit of patience. I decided to have a family meeting with my eldest son involved. You know, if you don't want to talk to me, you don't have to force yourself to stay in this house. Is that so? Then, I'll gladly leave. Just when I thought she finally opened up, she responded with words I never expected. Gladly. Did she really not want to be with us that much? I was a bit shocked, but maybe this is for the best. If we forced ourselves to stay together, it would only make things more awkward. It's been half a year since the eldest son and his wife left our house. I've been living a quiet and peaceful life alone, but... Please help me! One day, out of the blue, my eldest son's wife came to my house. It seems like she's asking for help, but what on earth happened? What now? After leaving on your own, you have the nerve to come back and ask for help? That's what I was thinking. Actually. In the next moment, she started to tell an unbelievable story. My name is Madison. 10 years ago, I lost my beloved husband. He died of late-stage colon cancer, passing away just a month after the cancer was discovered. Brandon, Daddy has passed away, but I'm going to do my best, okay? As I spoke to my son Brandon, who is the eldest and was in his last year of middle school, through my tears, he cried with me. Mom, you don't have to do everything. I will do what I can on my own. At the time, Brandon, though just a middle school student, helped me a lot by taking care of household chores since I had to work part-time from morning till night to support our family after my husband's death. He never showed any sign of displeasure, always putting my needs before his own. I'm grateful that he has grown into such a kind-hearted person. Now, Brandon is 25 years old. Mom, there's someone I want you to meet. One day, Brandon solemnly said this to me. What? Are you getting married or something? As I asked this question, Brandon shyly nodded. Ah, has that time finally come? Knowing Brandon, his partner must be a kind-hearted person as well. And so, on the day my eldest son, Brandon, had decided, I was waiting at home when the doorbell rang. I glanced at the monitor with a bit of nervousness, and there stood a woman dressed quite flamboyantly. What? Is this the person he wants to marry? I let them into the house. Take a seat here. I'll make some tea for us, I said, directing them to the living room, thinking of offering some snacks. That's when it happened. Tea? Seriously? Do you have anything else? She said. What would you prefer? I have orange juice, if you'd like. I was honestly pissed off by her rude remark, but I held it in and asked her again. Orange juice? I'm not a child. Never mind, I don't want anything. I thought Brandon would scold her for her rudeness, but he just said, come on, now, and let it slide. Maybe she's just bad at communicating, I thought, and decided to introduce myself again. Nice to meet you. My name is Madison. Please take care of Brandon. My name is Katie. Oh, and just so you know, I have no intention of getting along with you. After saying that, my future daughter-in-law, Katie, just started playing with her phone and said nothing more. What's with this woman? I was so astounded, I went beyond anger. That's when Brandon suddenly said, Mom, I didn't tell you this before, but can we live here with you? To be honest, I was nervous about living with Katie, but I was happy that Brandon wanted to live with me. Oh, yeah, that's fine. I managed to say, accepting their proposal, not imagining that it would lead to such trouble later on. A month had passed since Brandon and his wife, Katie, started living with us, but she never opened her heart to me. On the contrary, she started pushing all the household chores onto me for various reasons. My back hurts today, so could you clean the house, please? I'm feeling weak today, could you cook for us? That was the daily routine. I never meant to force her to do housework. And to be honest, I was fine with doing the chores since it kept me busy. But I did wonder if she'd be alright when I'm gone one day. It's fine that I do the chores, but are you sure you don't want to do anything? You might find it tough when the time comes. What? Why should I have to do anything for this house? I tried talking to her just once, but it had no effect. On the contrary, she just lashed out at me. Well, if she says so, it's fine. I guess. I stopped talking to her about it and just went on with my days. Half a year later. I'm going out to drink with a friend today, so I don't need dinner. Oh. Okay, have a good time, I replied. It was rare for Katie to go out, so that night, it was just me and Brandon for dinner. Hey. Was Katie always like that even when you were dating? Huh? What do you mean? I tried asking Brandon about his wife, but he seemed clueless. Come to think of it, I've never seen them have a pleasant conversation together. Curious, I decided to bluntly ask Brandon even though it might be none of my business. Are you two getting along okay? Katie is a housewife, right? I'm not trying to force her, but she doesn't do any housework and she's cold to me. I told him honestly about Katie, but she's not like that. Come on, thanks for the meal. My eldest son, even though he hadn't finished eating yet, hurriedly cleaned up his dishes and went back to his room. I'm sure he must have noticed the attitude of his wife, Katie. I felt like I was being abandoned by my son as well, and I was left alone at the dining table, feeling nothing but downhearted. While I was feeling depressed and lost in thought, I looked at the clock and realized it was nearly midnight. I should just go to bed now, I thought, and just at that moment, I heard the front door open. Ah. What a drink, what a drink. Katie, my eldest son's wife, came home humming a tune, seemingly in a very good mood from drinking, and went into the living room. I thought she might get a hangover if she went to bed like that. I poured a glass of water and handed it to Katie, saying, "Here, why don't you drink some water? You seem like you've had quite a bit to drink." But she ignored me and went to the kitchen to get water herself. Huh? Is she too drunk to realize I handed her water? I thought, but I had handed it right to her, so that couldn't be it. You want water, right? Well, here's some colder water, why don't you drink this? I tried speaking to her again, but once again, she ignored me and went to her room. What on earth is going on? I couldn't understand Katie's behavior at all. Well, maybe things will go back to normal tomorrow. That's what I thought, but the next morning, after seeing my eldest son, Brandon, off to work, I talked to Katie about last night. You drank quite a bit last night, didn't you? You didn't notice when I handed you water, and you went to the kitchen to pour yourself a glass. I was so surprised. I talked to Katie with a laugh, not meaning to be sarcastic at all, but she just glared at me and started fiddling with her cell phone. What is this? I don't understand at all. Even after that, I continued to speak to her, asking what do you want to eat today, and are you going anywhere with Brandon today, but she ignored everything. At this point, I'm out of options. I can't find a solution if I don't know the cause. I guess I just have to patiently wait until time solves this. But even after 2 months, Katie continued to ignore me. Why do I have to be ignored like this? I can't take it anymore. One evening after dinner, I asked my eldest son and his wife to stay in the living room, and I initiated a family meeting. I have something to talk about regarding Katie. I've been ignored by her for about 2 months now. Huh? Mom, is that true? Surely, she hasn't been ignoring you for 2 months. Right, Katie? My eldest son's reaction was normal, I think. It's natural for him not to think there's no communication since we live together. But the fact is, I have been continuously ignored. When both my son and I looked at Katie, she sighed and started talking. What do you want me to say? Without any sign of remorse, Katie openly admitted that she had been ignoring me. First of all, I decided to move into this house because Brandon said he didn't want to leave his mom alone. I just went along with it. Besides, I told you, didn't I? I have no intention of getting along with you. The other day, when I was drinking with my friends, they told me if I don't want to get along, I don't have to force myself to talk. And I thought, that's right. So that's why I've been ignoring you. Is that so bad? That's her reason for ignoring me? Katie is bad enough, but her friends sound just as bad. Hey, don't talk like that. I've been doing the housework every day instead of you, after all. What? Are you talking back to me? In the first place, I never did housework at my parents' house because we had a maid. If you're gonna complain that much, why don't you earn enough to hire a maid yourself? You're cheeky for a guy whose only redeeming feature is his looks. I've reached my limit. If it was just me, I might have been able to endure it, but I can't stay silent when she insults my eldest son as well. If she's gonna go that far, so be it. She's sorely mistaken if she thinks she can keep acting like a spoiled princess forever. Well, fine, you don't want to talk to me, right? Then please leave this house. I said this firmly to Katie. Upon hearing that, Katie, the eldest son's wife, couldn't resist retorting. Excuse me? What's with that attitude? Here I've been living with you reluctantly, and now just because I ignored you a bit, you tell me to leave the house? Don't you think that's a bit presumptuous? Ignored a bit? Where do you get off? Plus, you're gonna continue ignoring me, right? I can't live with someone like that. I couldn't back down either. I can't see a future where things get better living with Katie, and I think I'll go crazy from all the stress. As Katie and I were arguing, Brandon, the eldest son, stepped in. Both of you, please stop. We're family. Let's try to get along. Really? You're still talking like that after seeing this situation? Your mom just told me to leave the house. And yet, you still take her side? I can't believe this. Katie was freaking out, grabbing Brandon by the collar and yelling at him. No, after all, this whole situation is because of your attitude. That's what I thought in my head, but it seemed like Brandon felt the same way. I've kept quiet until now, but you're out of line. Out of line? What do you mean out of line? Speak up. You're always so meek and can't say anything to me. Hearing Katie's statement, Brandon seemed completely enraged. With a face angrier than I've ever seen, he said to Katie, "Don't think everything will go your way. Don't underestimate me. You ignore my mom just because you don't like her? Are you a child or what?" I didn't know that he could speak in such a tone, even though we've lived together for many years. Seeing Brandon scolding her in such a Yakuza-like tone, I couldn't help but be impressed, even in this situation. Child? Did you just call me a child? Yeah, worse than a child. After exploiting your parent-in-law, you ignore her? Mom was right. If you don't want to talk and you don't like it here, then leave. Brandon made himself very clear. Fine. I get it. I should leave, right? I'll gladly leave this house. Katie seemed defiant as well. She said she would leave the house. Does this mean they both just declared divorce? As I was thinking about this, Brandon took a piece of paper out of the bag he uses for work. Here. If you're gonna leave, then sign this. What is this? A divorce paper? Your attitude has been bothering me for a while. Using your wealthy family background to do whatever you want, never going out with me but always going out with your friends. I even thought maybe you have another man. I can't believe you thought that way. I don't need a man like you. After saying that, Katie signed the divorce paper and thrust it back at Brandon. Here. Are you happy now? Make sure you submit this. And of course, I'll be taking my share of the assets. I'm going to ask my father to get a lawyer, so you better be prepared. Saying this, Katie stormed out of the house. Brandon, are you sure it's okay to accuse her of cheating without any proof? Yeah, it's fine. Just watch. You'll understand soon enough. Well, if Brandon says so. For me, I felt refreshed that Katie had left our house. After that, life went back to peaceful times, just Brandon and me living together like old times. Half a year passed since Katie left. And one day the doorbell rang repeatedly, waking me up from my nap. Who is it now, ruining my nice nap? I checked the monitor while feeling grumpy, and was shocked. Why is she here? The drowsiness was completely gone. On the monitor was Katie. Katie. What's happened to you?
Madison! Please help me!
She just barges in all of a sudden, asking for help. What on earth is going on? Even if you ask for help. We're not related anymore, are we? I tried to send her away coldly, but my eldest son's wife, Katie, wouldn't leave at all. On the contrary, she started banging on the front door and screaming to be let in. Wait a minute. It's like I'm being made out to be the bad guy here. Thinking that I might end up calling the police if I left her alone, I reluctantly decided to let her in. What on earth is going on that you're this desperate? Well, actually, Katie, different from before, seemed willing to answer my question honestly. But there was something off in her response, like she was holding back. Was she really in that much of a tough situation? After I divorced Brandon, this arrived at my parents' house. What? What is this? Inside the brown envelope she handed me were photos proving Katie's infidelity and a demand for a settlement. The worst part is that my dad received this, and he told me I'm disowned and kicked me out of the house. I have nowhere to go. I'm thinking of apologizing to Brandon, but I can't get in touch with him at all. So, you just decided to show up today? Yes. Gosh. She's utterly foolish. She gets herself kicked out because of her own actions, and then she has the gall to come to her ex-husband's family's house. I'm too appalled to even speak.
Please! Can't you tell Brandon from your side that it was all a misunderstanding?
Kneeling down, Katie pleaded with me. I've heard enough. Really? Thank you so much. Katie must have misunderstood, thinking she was forgiven. She raised her face, her eyes shining. It's clear to me now that you're a complete idiot. Huh? Why should I cover for you, when my own son was cheated on? And getting kicked out of your house is just desserts, isn't it? Am I wrong? Well, that's true, but if you understand that, then why on earth did you come here? I really can't comprehend her actions. Besides, you didn't like me, right? You kept ignoring me, right? And yet, you come to me for help. You must be out of your mind. But you're the only one I can turn to. Just like Brandon said, she's completely taking people for granted. Why should I, someone she's been hostile towards, easily agree to help her? That's not true. You could have asked your relatives for help. Besides, your family is wealthy, right? You've always solved your problems with money. The settlement they're asking for is only $10,000, you could easily pay it off. But I've already told you, I've been disowned and they won't help me financially anymore. Katie suddenly changed her tone and yelled at me. There's no point in talking to her any longer. Then deal with it yourself. Besides, we're no longer related, why should I help you? Don't keep saying nonsensical things. I ended up yelling back at Katie. She was taken aback and fell silent. If you're done, can you please leave? I don't want to see your face anymore. I grabbed Katie's arm and forcibly led her to the front door. She apologized, crying, saying I'm sorry, but it was already too late. I'm not that generous of a person. That's it between you and me. If you come barging in here again, I'll say there's a suspicious person and turn you into the police. Saying this, I threw Katie, my eldest son's wife, out of the house and locked the front door. She was banging on the door and screaming for a while, but it became quiet in less than 10 minutes. Suddenly, looking outside from the living room, I saw the back of Katie as she walked away, shoulders slumped. Maybe if she hadn't ignored me for such a silly reason back then, this might not have happened. But still, I can't help but feel sorry for my eldest son. To be married to such a foolish woman, and to think she even cheated on him. She lived her life looking down on others, thinking she was always right. This is her punishment. She better reflect well and live the rest of her life in a better way. That's what I thought as I closed the living room curtains. It's been 3 months since Katie suddenly showed up, but she hasn't been back since. She must have given up. Come to think of it, I wonder what happened to the alimony for my eldest son. Suddenly curious, I decided to ask my eldest son about what Katie is up to now. By the way, have you been in touch with Katie recently? No, I haven't talked to her directly, but we've communicated through lawyers. Did you get the alimony all right? Yeah. Katie's dad said he was sorry, and he paid the whole amount at once. He even tried to give me an extra $20,000, saying it was out of goodwill, but I declined. Accepting that would somehow make my anger towards Katie fade. I see. So he's still angry. Well, that's understandable. So, is Katie living at her parents' house? No, it doesn't seem like it. According to her lawyer, she got kicked out of her parents' house, and now she's living in a cheap apartment. And get this, she, who never worked a day in her life, is earning her living expenses by cleaning at a bingo hall. She used to look down on cleaning, saying it's something maids should do. Serves her right. My eldest son said, laughing. To make my kind-hearted son say something like this, Katie must have really done something terrible. In a way, I'm impressed with her. I just hope that until the day my son remarries, we can live peacefully, just the two of us.